Greetings, everyone. Well, 9 years ago today marks the last day of the last job that I ever had. 9 years ago, holy crap, where does the time go? Now, it's April 1st, 2015, and it was not an April Fool's joke. They were serious. It was done. They sold my job to India, and that was it. And that was 100% of my income, 100% of my ability to support myself and pay bills and whatever. Gone overnight. History. That was it. Pretty devastating blow at the time. And at the time, you know, my response to that was, I need to get another job ASAP. So that's what I went on the search for to get. I never did find work. 9 years later, I never did have a job again. So what have I been doing all this time? Well, I'm actually going to circle this back to you. I felt today it deserved a video about it because there's so many profound life lessons that came from it that led me to much bigger and better things than going back and getting another job and basically going back for more of that. It completely sucked. But let me give you some context here because I want this to relate to you if at all possible, and I bet that I'm going to talk about stuff that can probably relate to 100% of everybody out there, at least on some level, some more than others. And if you get something from this you can cherry pick to help you maybe think a little bit differently or to advance your perspective or something that leads you to a whole nother discovery that helps you out profoundly in some way, then take from this video whatever that you can for that. So, to give you a little bit of context here, because I'm going to start hopefully relating to you right off the bat, like right now. So when I had a job, I was very proud, I was happy. I wasn't totally happy, but I always took pride in my work and I went above and beyond. I did the best that I could, even if I didn't like my boss, and I did not like my boss. The guy that owned the company was a jerk and I knew it, but you know what? I had a job. I was grateful about that because the economy was already in really bad shape 9 years ago. And anybody with a job was pretty grateful about it, me included. But regardless of any of that, I always did my best. I went above and beyond. I was punctual. People could count on me. They could depend on me. And you know, I wasn't one of those slackers that people hate at the office. I was just somebody that, you know, got along pretty much with mostly everybody, and I did my job to the best of my abilities, and I regularly got, you know, the merit increases. I call them Scooby treats now, but I got the Scooby treats with the pay increases and other perks and things like that that kept me around and made me a loyal, submissive subscriber to the idea of having a job for the rest of my life. Obviously, I feel differently about having a job for the rest of my life now, but at the time I thought the perks were pretty nice and the pay raises and this and that, but not anymore. I've got a totally different perspective now, and my new perspective actually lines up with my top priorities much better than they did back then. So regardless of all that and what I thought was fair, my world was turned inside out. It's like, this is not right, totally unfair. I worked hard, I went above and beyond, I brought so much value into this company, and this is how they thank me, this is how they treat me. This isn't right, this isn't fair. So I actually did try to get another job. I had many applications sent out, hundreds of them, and I had maybe 3 interviews because the job market was so saturated with people looking for work with so few positions open, something like 40 positions per one person looking. So of the hundreds of applications I had, maybe 3 interviews. And during this time, I'm not going to get into all of this, but I went back to school because the government paid for it. I qualified for some program because of bad federal trade policies that resulted in my job going overseas to India. So I qualified to have my entire school paid for if I wanted to go. I said, free school? Okay, I'm in. So I went, I got my degree. And so I applied for hundreds of positions relatable to what I went to school for, and I was offered $8 an hour. The best I was offered was $10 an hour, and these were for positions that was relatable for what I went to school for. So I'm a hard worker, going above and beyond, always doing the best I can, showing up on time every day, dependable guy, and this is how I'm treated. I lose my job, and then I'm offered $8 to $10 an hour. That sucks. That's not fair. And I've come to realize since then that a job will never be fair. I don't care who you are or how hard you work. You don't own that asset. Somebody else does. They can do whatever with it that they want. And some employers are, you know, nicer than others and more generous than others. But at the end of the day, you don't own it, and you can be manipulated in any which way possible. Your personal life is manipulated in any which way possible, whether people want to believe that or not. There's no freedom in having a job and trading your time for money. And there's so many reasons for that, and I've got tons of videos and content that go deeper into that, but I'm not going to do that so much here. But on some level, I hope you're relating at some point, somehow, some way. So going back to looking for a job again, it never panned out. I told one person respectfully, I said, I can't do $8 an hour, I'd rather starve. And I almost did. Now, somewhere in the midst of all of this, the girl I was dating in 2007, here's where the solution comes into place, so I hope that you're at least taking some mental notes here. But the girl I was dating at the time in 2007, she got into a home business. And now you know where this is going. Stick around, it gets really good. She got into a home business. She invited me, I said no. 3 months I said no. I said nope, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. But she was doing it, and I saw her personal income from this home business go up a lot. And also the actual product from the business, because you know there's a product that moves, that generates money and all these other things. The product is it's a health product. She came off of her asthma medications and she lost 40 pounds. And her confidence went up, and she's, you know, emotionally, physically, financially, she's doing better in every way possible. After 3 months of witnessing that and saying no, I had enough, man. I finally said yes. I got to do this. I can't afford not to. Nothing else was panning out. The job thing wasn't panning out. It didn't matter I had a degree. It didn't matter I was a hard worker. In fact, I think if you're a really hard worker and you're doing the best you can and you love personal growth and growing yourself and all those kinds of things, the more of that you are, the more the job world is going to screw you out of what's fair. It's just the way it is. Even if they pay you really well and you're making $100,000 a year at your job, they're still totally royally screwing you over. That's my personal opinion. I've got lots of reasons for that. But getting back to this, I eventually said yes. I could not afford to say no anymore, so I said yes. Fast forward a couple years, 2.5 years to be exact, I got to this wonderful place after saying yes in August of 2007, getting my butt to work in my precious minutes of spare time. 2.5 years later, I fired my boss. And for me, because I never found work, firing my boss basically meant I retired myself from the job rocket, called off the job search. No more. February of 2010, I have not looked for a job since then, haven't thought about it, dead set against it. I will never, ever, ever even remotely consider ever getting a job again. This is way cooler. So I've been free all that time. I basically used this home-based business experience after saying no for 3 months to build up a passive and residual income, the opposite of income from a job, by the way. Not all incomes are created equal. The amount doesn't even really matter, to be honest with you. When you have a passive and residual income, that's freedom. If you're making $1 million at a job, you're still a slave to money. There's no freedom in that. Your time is tied to that money. It's just the way that it is. There is no association between time and income here, which gives a person their freedom of time. The only income type that gives a person any freedom is passive and residual income. Job money is ordinary earned income, and there's no freedom. It's the opposite of freedom. It's not that, it's neutral ground. You're either free from money or you're a slave to money. And that is the way that it is, and that's not an opinion. That is an absolute fact that a lot of people don't know about and run from and criticize, but that's just the way that it is. So passive I have this passive and residual income now of my own personal resources that exceeds all of my expenses, very comfortably so, which makes me a free human being right after freedom of the mind. And freedom of the mind, by the way, precedes learning the truth about a passive and residual income and how it frees you in every way possible. It also frees you to be a more giving and generous person, a person of more contribution and impact on other people's lives and the world, the planet that is dying. That's pretty important. So I am all about freedom and contribution, the creation of beautiful things of freedom and contribution and impact. All of that leads to psychological health and emotional health and the health of the whole world, the health of the planet, and the health of animals and other creatures that we coexist with on the planet. All of that passive and residual income is the only income type that creates this thing. So ordinary earned income creates slavery. It does. And I'm not saying that to put down jobs. The job itself, if you love your job, that's totally fine. What I'm saying to you is that if you depend on job income, that type of income, if you have a neediness in that to support yourself, to pay bills, to put food on the table, feed your kids if you've got other mouths to feed, then you're living the lifestyle of an absolute slave to money. And they don't tell you that. College isn't going to tell you that, and your employer is not going to tell you that. However, it is possible to be in complete freedom and have a job. The only way that's possible is if you have an income from your own personal resources that is passive, that exceeds all of your expenses, both living and luxury expenses, all of your expenses. That's the threshold for freedom. And I only know, of all the people, I know a lot of people, but I only know one person who has a job, who is a free human being. Everyone else is needy for that paycheck. And if they don't have it, they're addicted to it, because if they don't have it, they can't pay their bills and put food on the table. The one guy I know who is free, who has a job, it's only because he built up a personal resource on the side in his spare time that eventually produced a passive income that exceeds all of his expenses, his family's expenses. He has 3 kids and a wife, so it's a family of 5. He has a passive income from his own personal resources he built in his spare time outside of his job that covers them financially. And he still wants his job. So now he has his job because he loves it. And there are some people who say they love their job and that's why they do it. That's a half-truth. You may love your job, but you need your job. You have a neediness, a dependency on it, and it's something I really want you guys to understand. It's fine to love your job, just realize that if you don't have that passive income, you're also needy for that job, and you have an addiction for that paycheck, and it's not healthy at all, because slavery is not healthy, but freedom is healthy. Freedom is what lights the human spirit on fire, and where you do amazing things that go beyond yourself and just impacting yourself and your own family. It's pretty neat. And I think I'm going to close on this final note here. I hope that I've related to you at least a dozen points so far. I should have, but when I got started in this, it's very easy for people to look at me now, a snapshot of where I am now, and say, oh, it's easy for you, Tom, you're successful, you're this, you're that, you know all these things. When I started, I didn't know anything. I was an average C and D student. I took the short bus to school. I was in special education classes. I was hyperactive. And I still I got held back in the first grade too, and I still struggled to just hang on to a C and a D. When I got to high school and some of my classes were elective, I took all the easy ones, and I still struggled to get a C or a D. So I'm not that smart, at least not academically. And gosh, what else? I had no job when I enrolled into a home business. One of the reasons I said no for 3 months is because I had no income. And then suddenly when I said yes, I put down $240. Was my choice to put down on my credit card. I had nothing coming in and no means of paying it off, but I had to get started. I couldn't keep waiting. So that was my initial investment into getting my home business going. $240, money I didn't have, no means of paying it back because I had no income. I put it on a credit card. To this day, I have not missed a payment, ever. I got my butt to work in my precious minutes of my spare time. I figured it out. And I know most people, you know, they'll tell me, Tom, you're crazy putting that kind of money or any money into a business or something when you had no money coming. You should really wait until you have more money. That was the average school of thought. And let me tell you how devastating, well-intended, but at the same time, how devastatingly and utterly stupid that is. This is the advice of most people. Most people, and by most I mean 98% of the population, is dead or dead broke before the age of 65, depending on friends, family, and the federal government as the main source of their income. Not exactly who you want to take financial advice from, but most people do it. I heard a philosophy that said, find out what most people are doing, how they think, how they decide, and run the complete opposite. Actually, the philosophy said go the opposite direction. I sort of added run. But find out what most people are doing, run the other direction as fast as you can. I'm talking feverishly. Because if you follow the masses, you're going to end up broke, sick, diseased, poor, enslaved to money, and probably if you're like most people that are a slave to money, you're going to deny it. You're going to say you are free when you're not. And that's, in my personal opinion, completely stupid. And it traps you to believe in these fantasy fairy tale things of being a free human being when you're working for money. That keeps you trapped. That's how you don't get ahead. That's how you stay involved in the blame game and you don't take any personal responsibility for anything. And if you don't own your crap, you can't get better. And that's the honest to God truth. And I'll never lie to you. I may say some things that you don't agree with, and that's fine. You got to pick your own path, and you got to live with your decisions. I don't, thank goodness. But the kind of people that I love working with are people that are willing to criticize their own beliefs. You have their ego in check and enough humility and vulnerability to criticize some beliefs that they have so that they can change them and swap them out and grow. I like living in an environment where failure is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing if you learn from it. I think failure is only bad if you don't take the lessons. And a lot of people don't take the lesson, and that's why they fail at the same thing year after year after year. I fail at different things and I make different mistakes year after year after year as I progress and figure things out and solve challenges. It's always an opportunity for growth for me. And I think most people would agree with that philosophy, but very few people are doing it. So my starting place, no money coming in, no income, educably kind of retarded. Actually, I was labeled that. That's why I was held back in the first grade, so I don't throw that around loosely. A horrible economy, so I could have used the economy as I can't do it now. The economy's terrible. I can't get in now. I don't have an income. I need to wait till I have more time. I don't have time. All the classic excuses that people use. People let their circumstances toss them around like a rag doll. And I used to, but I grew up. I stopped that nonsense. I drew a line in the sand and I changed my mind. And everybody, including you, have been born with the gift of being able to change your mind. So you can do it. You can change your mind, draw a line in the sand. But that was my starting place. And I had to overcome a lot of stuff, and I had to overcome really bad thinking, because it's not like I waved a magic wand, now I'm a business owner, things are gonna get better. No, I had my own head trash. I had to start unwinding and swapping out for a better mindset. That took time. It took me about 2 years, I would say, of unwinding a lifetime of bad thinking and beliefs I had about money, and beliefs I had about helping people, and beliefs about my own circumstances, and to take full responsibility for it so I could at least be equipped to be powerful to change my life. It took a couple years of unwinding bad thinking, but the point is I got started on that process, at least, the day that I enrolled. I stopped saying no, I did it. I put down the money I did not have, which most people won't do. Most people won't do it, so I knew I had to do it. It goes back to that philosophy of running the other direction of most people. And what's great about having stuff to overcome? You got stuff to overcome, we all do. If you've related to nothing else, that'll hit 100% of everybody who's being honest with themselves anyway. You've got something to overcome. You know what's great about having stuff to overcome? It's the overcoming that is the gateway to improving yourself and getting what you want. A dream, solving a problem, whatever it is. Your gateway to creating freedom and contribution is in the overcoming, and it's in the learning, and it's in the shrinking an ego down to where it needs to be so that humility takes over. And your head is just in balance, this power struggle between humility and ego. And then you can start swimming in teachable waters. And the bad thing about swimming in unteachable waters driven by an ego that thinks it knows everything, an ego that says, I'm insulted that Tom Birkenmeyer or anybody would criticize me. Ego says those things. Ego says I'm broke. Ego says I can't afford to buy better food for my family because I'm broke and I've got kids to feed, so I gotta buy the cheap food. Ego says those things. Humility says, I need to figure out what I need to do to become the person that can be a better provider for my family and become the person that can be a bigger contributor to a world that is dying from many, many, many symptoms. Humility says those things. So when you get that in check, ego versus humility, in your mind, then you're in this new wonderful place. The soil of your brain becomes fertile. It can accept new seeds of growth that lead to whatever you want it to lead to. You decide the seeds you want planted in your brain and the ones that you want to reject. It's a pretty cool deal. Anyway, I can't believe I've been rambling this long. I'm going to wrap it up right now. I hope you got something from this video big time. And if any of it resonated with you, and I don't know, whatever your goals are, whatever your dreams are, I run a 30 Days to Profit training sequence every month. It's fantastic. A lot of people get wonderful results in it. And I teach a lot of what I was talking about just now in this video, and you know, a bit more too. But I've also developed this new resource that I like calling Getting Started Right. I need to think of a better name, but regardless of the name, the content is still the same and the effectiveness is still the same. Basically, for people that want to do the 30 Days to Profit, I've got this resource, Getting Started Right, that people can plug into and possibly start creating their first new money, their new residual passive money. Remember I said not all incomes are created equal. This is a different income than you're used to. This is an income that has no time association to your income or to money. So it's the beginning of creating your freedom. That's a powerful thing. But anyway, I've got this resource, and it's the beginning of earning your first residual and passive money that will eventually build big enough to exceed all of your expenses, which makes you a free human being after the freedom of the mind that opens up to those possibilities. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Connect with me privately. I'll send you a video about my 30 Days to Profit training sequence, and you decide if it's a fit for you. One of my personal hallmarks is honoring people, is free-thinking people. When I went to my first presentation of this whole thing, nobody asked me to join at the end of this great presentation they gave. It didn't get weird like they do in others, and that was like one of the first things I noticed. It left a long-lasting impression upon me, like, wow, this was really different. And that was one of the reasons I eventually got in too. I wasn't made to feel weird when I said no. So 3 months later I got in, and the presentation that I went to didn't get weird at the end where they start saying, okay, so who's in? Who's gonna? There's none of that stuff. It was pretty cool. So I just want you to know that, so you're not shy to ask for the video that I made presenting it. If you'd like to see it, just ask for it, and I'll send it to you, and you decide if it's a fit for you, and if it's not, then be on your way looking for something that is. But remember, the key to creating freedom and contribution is building up a passive and residual income of your own personal resources. It's the only income type that creates freedom. And there is no neutral ground. You're either going to be a slave to money, or you're going to be its master. Whoops, get the focus back. Watch what I'm doing. I'm going to end this video with a nice panoramic shot of where I'm at. You can probably hear the water, and the sun is now starting to hide behind the clouds. But here we go. I look forward to connecting with them. I'm sure I'm going to hear from quite a few of you real soon. Anytime I make a video like this, I always get a lot of people reaching out who want to know about what I'm doing, and I always get new people that want to be in the next round. So if you're in the next round, I can't wait to create a really cool success story with you, the kind that inspires other people, and you get to have this massive tidal wave effect of other people around you. So how great is that? There's the start of your freedom and contribution. It could be, but I will talk to quite a few of you real soon, I'm sure. Enjoy the panoramic shot, and I will talk to you soon. Celebrating 9 years of being job free. How beautiful is that? Oh my God, that is so amazing.